The year was 1960, when the Magnificent Seven first rode onto the big screen, a sweeping Western that would soon etch itself into the mythology of American cinema. Now, 65 years later, we find ourselves in the year 2025, looking back across more than 6 decades of cultural shifts, human stories, and cinematic evolution. The world that greeted the film in 1960 was radically different from our era. The early 60s existed at the twilight of the classic Hollywood studio system, a time when widescreen epics, towering stars, and heroic westerns dominated the global imagination. Television had only recently found its place in everyday life. Society was on the brink of new cultural revolutions, from civil rights to counterculture, and the Cold War loomed like a permanent shadow. Today, in 2025, we live in an age of digital interconnectedness, where cinema blends with streaming, where CGI reshapes storytelling, and where global audiences consume content instantly. The dusty, sun-bleached simplicity of a frontier tale now feels almost mythic, a relic from a world where heroes rode horses, not algorithms. Yet despite all this change, the story still resonates, because its themes are eternal. Bravery, sacrifice, loyalty, and the human instinct to protect the vulnerable. The Magnificent Seven remains a timeless fable about 7 professional gunfighters who risk everything to defend a poor Mexican village from oppression. And today, we revisit those unforgettable faces, the men behind the legend, and discover where life ultimately carried them. Yul Brynner, Chris Larrabee Adams. Yul Brynner, born Yuli Borisovich Brynner on July 11, 1920, in Vladivostok, Russia, was 40 years old when he stepped into the black-clad boots of Chris Larrabee Adams, the stoic, commanding leader of the Seven. Chris wasn't just a gunfighter. He was a man of principle, calm under pressure, guided more by morality than by money. That quiet nobility would define the entire film. Few people know that the movie existed because of Brynner. He personally acquired the rights to Akira Kurosawa's Seven Samurai, championed the adaptation, and handpicked the director and much of the cast. His passion shaped the Western we know today. Behind the scenes, Brynner's intense rivalry with Steve McQueen became Hollywood legend, with McQueen constantly trying to steal little bits of focus on camera, from fiddling with his hat to reloading shells for no reason. Before this film, Brynner was already a global phenomenon. His Oscar-winning performance as King Mongkut of Siam in The King and I became a cultural touchstone, a role he'd go on to play more than 4,600 times on stage. After The Magnificent Seven, Brynner continued to shine in films like Terra's Bulba, 1962, and the influential sci-fi thriller Westworld, 1973, where he played a deadly android, a haunting echo of his Chris Adams persona. His personal life was complex. For marriages, extensive world travel, published books, and a lifelong devotion to photography. Yul Brynner passed away on October 10, 1985, from lung cancer at age 65. His final message about the dangers of smoking, aired posthumously, became one of the most powerful public service announcements in television history. Chris Adams, stern, noble, morally unwavering, remains one of Western cinema's most enduring archetypes.
Steve McQueen, Vintner.
Steve McQueen, born March 24, 1930, in Beech Grove, Indiana, was 30 when he appeared as Vin Tanner, the laconic drifter with a razor-sharp wit and an unshakable sense of cool. Director John Sturges fought to cast him after their earlier collaboration on Never So Few. McQueen agreed to take second billing to Brynner, but he also came determined to steal every scene he was in. His hat-adjusting, shell-shaking antics became part of Hollywood lore and ignited real tension with Brynner. Before the film, McQueen had begun rising to fame through the hit TV series Wanted, Dead or Alive, where he played a charismatic bounty hunter. After The Magnificent Seven, McQueen's career exploded. The Great Escape, 1963. The Cincinnati Kid, 1965. Bullet, 1968. Cementing him as the king of cool. But beneath the cool exterior was a man facing real battles. McQueen developed mesothelioma, a rare cancer he believed came from asbestos exposure during his Marine Corps service and automotive racing. He received an Academy Award nomination for The Sand Pebbles, 1966, further proving his dramatic depth. Passionate about racing, McQueen often insisted on performing his own stunts, nearly unheard of at the time. Steve McQueen died on November 7, 1980, in Mexico, at age 50, while seeking alternative cancer treatments. Vin Tanner, effortless, stylish, but fundamentally moral, remains one of cinema's definitive anti-heroes. Charles Bronson, Bernardo O'Reilly. Charles Bronson, born Charles Dennis Buczynski on November 3, 1921, in Pennsylvania, was 38 when he portrayed Bernardo O'Reilly, the half-Irish, half-Mexican gunman who discovers his deepest humanity through the adoration of village children. Bronson, known for his quiet intensity, became the emotional heart of the film. Though he often played hardened characters, his tender scenes with the children remain among the movie's most beloved moments. Director John Sturges personally selected him after admiring his earlier work. Before the film, Bronson had spent years playing small, gritty roles in movies like House of Wax, 1953, Machine Gun Kelly, 1958. After The Magnificent Seven, he became an international superstar. The Great Escape, 1963. The Dirty Dozen, 1967. Once Upon a Time in the West, 1968, which cemented him as a global icon. In the 1970s, he became one of the highest-paid actors in the world, particularly popular in Europe. Bronson grew up in extreme poverty as one of 15 children in a coal mining family, a hardship that shaped his famously stoic personality. He died on August 30, 2003, at age 81, from pneumonia and Alzheimer's complications. Bernardo, the gunman who discovers fatherly love, remains the film's emotional soul. James Coburn Britt. James Coburn, born August 31, 1928, in Laurel, Nebraska, was 32 years old when he took on the role of Britt, the knife-throwing specialist whose calm precision bordered on mythic. Britt speaks little in the film, but every gesture of his hands, every narrow glance, carries lethal purpose. He is the quiet storm of the seven, and Coburn played him with effortless, ice-cool charisma. Coburn had been a struggling actor before The Magnificent Seven, appearing mostly in guest roles on Western TV shows. Yet director John Sturges immediately saw something in him, a man who could command the screen without saying a word. Britt's legendary knife versus gun shootout became one of the most iconic scenes of Coburn's entire career. After the film's success, Coburn rose steadily through Hollywood. He starred in the spy parody hits The President's Analyst, 1967, and Our Man Flint, 1966, which cemented his reputation for dry humor and debonair confidence. Throughout the 70s and 80s, he worked alongside major names like Charles Bronson, Donald Sutherland, and Bruce Lee, with whom he shared a close friendship. But Coburn's path wasn't without hardship. For more than 20 years, he battled debilitating rheumatoid arthritis that distorted his hands and nearly ended his career. Then, in the late 90s, a new wave of treatments revived his health, and his comeback was triumphant. In 1997, he won the Academy Award for Best Supporting Actor for Affliction, proving his talent had only sharpened with time. James Coburn passed away on November 18, 2002, at age 74 after suffering a heart attack. His portrayal of Britt, the man whose silence spoke louder than bullets, remains one of Western cinema's defining examples of cool, lethal elegance. Robert Vaughn Lee. Robert Vaughn, born November 22, 1932, in New York City, was only 27 when he played Lee, the once fearless gunfighter now haunted by the ghosts of men he's killed. Lee is not the boldest nor the fastest of the seven, but he is the most psychologically complex. A man drowning in fear, fighting for redemption in a world that no longer terrifies him but terrifies itself. Vaughn's performance is subtle, introspective, and heartbreaking. When the young villagers ask him about courage, and he snaps back about the horror of killing, that moment reveals the emotional depth he brought to the ensemble. Before the film, Vaughn's career had already shown promise. He received an Academy Award nomination for The Young Philadelphians, 1959, at just 26 years old. But The Magnificent Seven helped cement his place in Hollywood. Then, in the mid-1960s, Vaughn became a worldwide sensation as Napoleon Solo in the hit TV series The Man from UNCLE, which turned him into a global household name. Intelligent, articulate, and politically aware, Vaughn later earned a PhD in communications and even authored books on Hollywood and anti-war activism. He continued acting well into his later years, appearing in films, TV series, theater, and documentaries, one of the few Magnificent Seven cast members to maintain a long, steady career across 6 decades. Robert Vaughn passed away on November 11, 2016, at age 83 from acute leukemia. His portrayal of Lee, the fallen gunfighter searching for salvation, remains one of the film's most moving performances. Brad Dexter, Harry Luck. Brad Dexter, born Boris Michel Soso on April 9, 1917 in Nevada, was 42 when he played Harry Luck, the rugged mercenary convinced that Chris Adams would never take a job unless a hidden fortune was involved. Harry represents the cynic among the 7, the man who believes greed is the truest human motive. Dexter's natural toughness and dry humor made Harry a memorable wild card in the group dynamic. Though not as flashy as McQueen or as stoic as Bronson, his character added texture. The man who masks fear with bravado, who searches for gold even where there is none. Before this film, Dexter worked primarily in supporting roles and was known for his rugged presence. But what truly defined his life was what happened after the Magnificent Seven. In 1964, he famously saved Frank Sinatra from drowning. The two became close friends for years, and Dexter went on to work behind the scenes as a producer. He produced critically acclaimed films such as The Naked Runner, 1967, and participated in multiple international productions. Later in life, he stepped away from acting to work in studio executive roles and international film ventures. Brad Dexter passed away on December 12, 2002, at age 85. Though often overshadowed by the film's bigger stars, his performance as Harry Luck remains an essential part of the ensemble's psychological balance. The man who goes looking for treasure and instead finds his fate. Horst Buchholz, Chico. Horst Buchholz, born December 4, 1933, in Berlin, Germany, was the youngest of the 7 at just 26 years old when he portrayed Chico, the impulsive, hot-headed rookie longing to prove himself. Chico is the beating young heart of the film, the idealist, the dreamer, the boy desperate to become a man. Buchholz brought a fiery, European intensity uncommon in American westerns. Though his English was still developing, his expressive acting and energetic presence made Chico instantly endearing. His arc, from reckless wannabe gunfighter to a man who discovers love and purpose in the village, adds warmth and hope to the film's otherwise fatalistic tone. Often called the German James Dean, Buchholz was already a rising star in Europe before joining the cast. He had dazzled audiences in films like Tiger Bay, 1959, and worked across French, German, Italian, and British cinema. After the Magnificent Seven, he continued building a strong European career, appearing in works by legendary directors such as Billy Wilder and Federico Fellini. However, his international momentum was disrupted by scheduling conflicts that caused him to miss out on major opportunities, including a role in Fellini's 8½. Later in life, Buchholz remained active in German film and TV, transitioning into mature roles. He also became politically active, supporting global humanitarian causes. Horst Buchholz passed away on March 3, 2003, at age 69 from pneumonia. Chico, the young gunfighter who learns that love is braver than violence, remains the film's emotional crescendo. Eli Wallach as Calvera. Next, we arrive at one of the most unforgettable villains in Western cinema, Eli Wallach, the man who brought the bandit leader Calvera to life with unmatched charisma and danger. While the Magnificent Seven is remembered for its heroes, Wallach made sure the audience never forgot the villain either. Born in 1915 in Brooklyn, New York, Wallach was already a respected stage and method actor before stepping into the dust and chaos of Calvera's world. He had an intensity that felt unpredictable, a quiet menace that could explode into violence. And in the Magnificent Seven, he was magnetic, crafting a villain who was both ruthless and strangely charming. His performance was so strong that many critics later said the film wouldn't feel complete without him. After the Magnificent Seven, Wallach continued building a legendary career across film, television, and theater. Perhaps most iconic was his role as Tuco in Sergio Leone's masterpiece The Good, the Bad and the Ugly, 1966, where he created one of the greatest and most complex anti-heroes in film history. That performance alone cemented him as a titan of cinema. Throughout the following decades, Wallach remained incredibly active, appearing in dramas, thrillers, comedies, and even modern films like Mystic River and Wall Street. Money never sleeps. He had that rare gift. No matter how small the role, he elevated the entire movie simply by being there. Off-screen, Wallach was known as warm, humorous, and deeply dedicated to his craft. He was married to actress Ann Jackson for more than 65 years, one of Hollywood's longest and most admired partnerships. Eli Wallach continued acting well into his 90s, his passion never fading, until his passing on June 24, 2014, at the remarkable age of 98. Today, he is remembered as a giant of American acting. A man who played villains with soul, outlaws with heart, and characters with unforgettable human depth. In The Magnificent Seven, Calvera may have been the enemy, but Eli Wallach, he was a legend. Vladek Sheybal, villager/extra, uncredited. Though uncredited in the final release, Vladek Sheybal appeared among the villagers and supporting background actors during the production of The Magnificent Seven. He later became widely respected for his unique intensity and distinctive screen presence, especially in British cinema. Best known for From Russia with Love and the Wind and the Lion, Sheybal brought an unmistakable dramatic energy to every project he touched. He passed away on October 16, 1992, at age 69, after a long and unusual career that transitioned from Polish theater to international film. His subtle contribution to The Magnificent Seven remains one of the earliest on-screen appearances in a remarkable life.
Jorge Martinez de Hoyo, Wilke.
As one of the Mexican villagers, Jorge Martinez de Hoyo added emotional depth to the story's central theme, ordinary people trapped between fear and hope. His grounded performance reflected the authentic struggle of communities across rural Mexico in early Western cinema. While not a leading figure in Hollywood, Martinez de Hoyo built a respected career across Mexican film and television. His portrayal helped frame The Magnificent Seven not just as an action film, but as a story about dignity, courage, and the quiet strength of the oppressed. He passed away on May 20, 1995, at age 71, but his filmography remains an important part of Mexico's cinematic legacy. Rico Alonso, Rico, the villager. Rico Alonso played one of the young villagers whose desperation motivates the journey north to hire gunfighters. His role, though modest in screen time, is essential in setting the tone of the film's opening act, emphasizing the stakes and the need for salvation. Throughout the 1950s-70s, Alonso appeared in a number of supporting roles in both American and Mexican productions. While his later life became more private, the authenticity he brought to The Magnificent Seven remains appreciated by longtime fans of the film. His date of passing is not publicly documented, and many aspects of his personal life remain respectfully private. Rosenda Monteros, Petra, the young villager. Rosenda Monteros portrayed Petra, one of the young women in the village, and a warm, humanizing presence in a film dominated by violence and tension. Her chemistry with the gunslingers, especially the younger members of the Seven, offered a subtle romantic undertone and reminded audiences of the life and love the villagers were fighting to protect. Outside the film, Monteros was a celebrated actress in Mexican cinema and theater, known for her elegance and expressive performances. She worked internationally, bridging Hollywood and Latin American film for decades. Rosenda Monteros passed away on December 29, 2018, at age 85, after a lifetime dedicated to storytelling and performance. Robert J. Wilke, Wallace, Calvera's henchman. Robert J. Wilke appeared as one of Calvera's most intimidating enforcers, a role perfectly suited to his commanding presence and rugged features. Wilke was one of Hollywood's most prolific Western villains, appearing in countless films throughout the 1940s, 70s. In The Magnificent Seven, even his brief moments add tension and a sense of danger to Calvera's gang. He represents the relentless pressure facing the villagers and the Seven themselves. Wilke passed away on March 28, 1989, at age 78, remembered fondly by Western fans for his consistent and powerful portrayals of cinematic outlaws. Pepe Hern, Villager. Pepe Hern's presence among the villagers brought warmth and authenticity to the film's emotional core. Hern frequently portrayed Mexican and Latino characters in Hollywood productions during the mid-20th century. Though often cast in supporting roles, he contributed significantly to films like The Magnificent Seven by grounding the narrative world in believable human emotion. He passed away on February 28, 1983, at age 62, leaving behind a respected legacy of character work across TV and film. Whit Bissell, Judge. Although his appearance is brief and uncredited, Whit Bissell's role as the judge helped establish the moral and legal stakes early in the narrative. Bissell was one of Hollywood's most recognizable supporting actors, appearing in The Time Machine, Invasion of the Body Snatchers, and countless television shows. His voice and demeanor added gravitas to every scene, and even small roles like this one benefit from his professionalism. Whit Bissell passed away on March 5, 1996, at age 86, closing the chapter on one of Hollywood's busiest character actors. And so, we come to the end of our journey. We've seen the lives of these remarkable actors, heroes, villains, drifters, dreamers, each bringing something unforgettable to the Magnificent Seven. Some lived long, full lives. Others left us far too early. But every one of them helped create a film that stands eternal. Yul Brynner, the fearless leader, Steve McQueen, the restless rebel, Charles Bronson, the stoic warrior, Eli Wallach, the master of nuance, and all the others, together they formed a cinematic brotherhood that still holds the world's admiration. The town they saved may have been fiction, but the courage they represented, the human spirit they portrayed, and the legacy they built, those are real, and they continue to inspire new generations of filmmakers, actors, and fans. More than 60 years later, The Magnificent Seven remains a reminder that bravery can come from unexpected places, that redemption is always within reach, and that when people stand together, even seven against an army, hope can still win. To the cast, to the crew, and to every fan who keeps this masterpiece alive, thank you.